Damn it, Mercer, you broke the game. This absolute abomination is the Grim Reaper for any DM with their sanity intact. Don't let this freak into a pre-written adventure because it will have a field day. Echo Knights are not mortal. They are monsters sent to kill all DMs as Matt Mercer's sick and twisted revenge plot. That's to say that, yeah, this is absolutely the best fighter subclass maybe ever created, and this is why you should play it. So this video is going to be far less put together because we just need to walk through the Echo Knight subclass, and you'll know why it's so good. You can just look and see with your own eyes and go, yeah, that seems excellent. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna walk you through each class feature because this is by far the best 5th edition subclass. I'm not just talking about fighter subclasses, I'm talking across every other class. No other subclass allows the base class to ascend to such new heights of power as the Echo Knight. This thing's a fucking dunamantic nuclear bomb. And all of this shit starts with its 3rd level ability, Manifest Echo. As a bonus action, a simple bonus action, you can manifest basically a shadow clone of yourself within 15 feet of your character. Its AC is 14 plus your proficiency bonus, has 1 hit point, immune to all conditions. And you can do 3 things with this Echo Knight at 3rd level. Firstly, as a bonus action, you can swap locations between your original character and your new Echo. It costs 15 feet of movement, but so what? This leads to a technique I like to call echo climbing, because you can spawn your Echo Knight anywhere in space. So what you do is you spawn the Echo Knight up on a tree or a ledge, or just up in the air really, and then you just teleport to it. And you can glitch your way up the sides of mountains, buildings, giant flying creatures, it doesn't really matter. You don't even need to see where your Echo is to swap, you just swap. Which is absolutely ridiculous. And then when you take into account that this Echo can take your attack actions for you, well, that's pretty crazy. So as a martial character, one of the main drawbacks is you need to waddle up into melee distance with the big scary enemies. But when you're an Echo Knight, you can have the Echo do it for you. And if it gets killed, so what? You can make another because you can make an endless amount of these little clone Echoes. Oh, and just to top it all off, it also provokes attacks of opportunity. So there is that. And if that all was not enough, because, you know, you were just getting provided so much utility in and out of combat, defensive abilities, offensive abilities, whatnot, you get Unleash Incarnation, which allows you to take an additional melee attack from your Echo's position. And you can use this number of times equal to your Constitution modifier, and you regain all the uses after a long rest. Remember when we talked about the Samurai? If you haven't seen that Samurai video, you can go and watch it here. But remember when we talked about how the action economy was so important? Yeah, this shatters the action economy with a sledgehammer. You're just making an extra attack. At 3rd level, an action surging Echo Knight that uses Unleash Incarnation is making 3 weapon attacks. 3 attacks. That's crazy. Yeah, choosing this thing at 3rd level is like declaring war on your dungeon master. It's an exciting war. It's a war that involves you teleporting around and being really cool, but it is still a war that you are declaring, dear viewer. I want you to be aware of that. And this subclass only gets better because at 7th level, you can temporarily transfer your consciousness into this Echo. And as an action, you can look through its eyes. One of the Echo's weaknesses is that you can't go more than 30 feet away from this thing. But while you're piloting around your little shadow mech, you can. You can see and hear through your Echo's eyes for up to 10 minutes, and you can walk up to 1,000 feet away. So this is like the perfect scouting technique, because you can just walk through a dungeon completely without fear. And because Echo Avatar, this 7th level ability, has no cooldown, it doesn't require resources, and spawning an Echo doesn't require resources, you can do this forever, which is crazy. It's madness. Madness. It's madness. Because this entire subclass is a product of Matt Mercer's rage that I guess is in there somewhere. He seems like such a nice guy, But Jesus Christ, this Echo Knight. I guess he got tired of people saying that casters were just superior to marshals. And Matt Mercer said, I'm gonna do it myself. And goddamn, Mercer, yeah, you did it. You did it, man. So yes, Echo Avatar, fantastic. 3 S-tier subclass features back to back to back. Oh, and look, an even better one, because at 10th level, you gain access to Shadow Martyr. Because before an attack roll is made, when an attack is directed at you, you can use your reaction and just switch positions with your Echo. This gives way to a technique I like to call Echo Behind the Wall, because on your turn, you walk out from behind the wall, and you attack the enemies. And then when the enemies attack you, you teleport back behind the wall. Now, of course, this feature can only be used once per short or long rest. So I suppose that this is at least limited, but even if it's limited to once per rest, it is still insanely good. There are so many ways in combats to teleport away and leave it so no enemy can attack you because you're behind cover. Or you bait out an enemy's strongest attack, like a dragon's breath weapon, and then poof, you're gone. You don't need to worry about that damage at all. Is it once per rest? Yes, because if it was twice per rest, well, I think you could probably solo a Lich at 10th level. No kidding, you could probably do it. And now we're getting into the truly ridiculous things. At 15th level, when one of your echoes is destroyed by taking damage, you regain temporary hit points. 2d6 plus your constitution modifier. Now, this is of course usable a number of times equal to your constitution modifier, but by 15th level, with all your additional ASIs, your constitution modifier should be pretty high. 18 or 20 on average if you're competent. And so that means, let's say you have an 18 as your constitution score, so a +4 to the modifier. On average, per long rest, you're essentially gaining an extra 44 temporary hit points if all of your echoes are destroyed and you're burning through your temporary hit points just right. So that's fantastic, obviously. There can be entire combats where only your temporary hit points are being eaten into. I have seen it where Echo Knights are fighting and they will have taken, let's say, 35 damage in a combat, and their actual hit points have gone down maybe 2 or 3. The rest have been eaten by the temporary hit points they gain from losing their echoes. And then, you know, after the combat, they just use second wind and they're back up to full. This subclass is flat out insane, people. And then you look at the 18th level ability and it's called Legion of One. Legion of One. When you think about D&D, I keep on saying it's a team-based game. You know, you have to work with your party. An ability called Legion of One should be a red flag. That's where you should go, oh, I wonder what that means. And it means that as a bonus action, you can create 2 echoes instead of 1. So you know, your whole wall tech duck behind avoid damage strategy? Well, it can have a few fail-safes, because you can put 1 echo behind a wall, and you can put 1 echo into melee range, and then you can use Unleash Incarnation to be making an extra attack. So you're making 4 attacks, and then when they try to hit you, you teleport back to the echo behind the wall. And then you gain temporary hit points. It's like a mantra saying, well, you know, you're a fighter, but my wizard can bend reality. The Echo Knight is a fighter that can bend reality. Nobody is safe. You cannot counterspell an echo, and dispel magic doesn't work when the fighter shoves a sword through your chest. Now, most of you won't make it to this high level, but it doesn't really matter, because the Echo Knight is superior at every level. It doesn't matter what you're getting with the Echo Knight, it will still curb stomp anything thrown in front of it. The Echo Knight has come for one reason and one reason only: to kill. It is like the D&D equivalent of the Terminator. So yeah, Echo Knights. Let's start talking about their concepts, I suppose. Of course, you could go with the Critical Role Exandria lore of you pulling in some Dunamantic magic, but you could also just be creating actual clones of yourself. Maybe you're pulling versions of yourself from parallel worlds. I've had some players reflavor their Echo Knights so that the Echo is really just symbolizing them teleporting back and forth. There are a lot of ways to reflavor this subclass, but really the concept of making a second instance of yourself really quickly is not that limiting. In fact, I think it's a strength. This mechanic is so wide open that players who struggle coming up with a character concept can just pick up an Echo Knight and half their character is written for them. They just need to get around to thinking how they became an Echo Knight, but everything else really falls into place. Really, the tagline of an Echo Knight is you plus more. It's just a character of you plus more of you, and that's not that hard to make. Let's move on to multiclassing. Why would you? It's already so good. Don't multiclass an Echo Knight. If you're another class though, yeah, multiclass into Echo Knight. Echo Knight monks, Echo Knight paladins, Echo Knight rogues, yeah, Echo Knight the shit out of everything. They have already infected all my other D&D games. So yeah, just let them infect all the other classes. Like the spreading of a dark plague. The true Matt Mercer effect, if you will. Now let's get into my dislikes for this subclass. Borderline too strong. Now, like, if you're a player, there are no dislikes here. As a DM, what the fuck is this subclass? I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle whenever I run a game with an Echo Knight. Because I am. Because there's no beating an Echo Knight. You beat one, you realize that was just the Echo. And there's an infinite number of other Echoes coming behind it. There is no stopping an Echo Knight. You can only pray. Oh my god, as I started recording, a beautiful sunny day has just turned into rain and thunderstorms. So I guess that means something. So let's just get into the ratings. 5 categories: roleplay, offensive, defensive, utility, and X Factor. X Factor, of course, being what separates you from all the other subclasses. Roleplay, 19 out of 20. It's just because you have to have a character that makes another version of themselves. That's it. That's the only point I could dock. Offensive, 20 out of 20, breaks the action economy. Defensive, 20 out of 20. Hitting the Echo does nothing, and even at later levels when I try to hit you, you just teleport away. Utility, 20 out of 20. Teleporting tech glitch is broken, and also Echo Avatar is the best scouting ability in the entire game. X Factor, 20 out of 20. If I could, I'd give it a 30 out of 20. Echoes are so busted, it's not even funny. Final rating, 99 out of 100. I plan on going through more classes and ranking them. I've already done Druid. Now I'm getting through Fighter. I think Echo Knight is the peak. I genuinely don't know how another class gets any higher than an Echo Knight. Like, I believe Wildfire Druid is an amazing subclass. It doesn't hold a candle, haha fire pun, to the Echo Knight. This thing is a rampaging monster. So if you want to learn how to play an Echo Knight, go and check out this video right here. It's my whole guide on the fighter class. This video teaches you how to be an Echo Knight. This other video is going to teach you everything you need to do to be an excellent fighter. Nay, a great fighter. A fighter that can kill gods. And thank you for entering the dungeon.